Hello, family, and welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about my very first demonic encounter. Um, I did say that I was going to start sharing my encounters. Maybe somebody else out there has had something similar happen to them. Um, my whole purpose is just to share my journey, let people know that they're not crazy, even though sometimes we feel like we are. Especially when these things happened, we tend to gaslight ourselves and try to rationalize things away that things didn't happen or we were imagining it, right? And I'm here to let you know that you don't need to gaslight yourself. I know that these things happen. I've had them happen to me. And it's something very hard to talk about because, like, you end up getting ridiculed by people or they don't believe you or, whatever the case may be. And I'm at the point in my journey and my walk where I really don't care what anybody else thinks about me. I know what my reality is and where my truth is. And I am not going to gaslight myself or let anybody else gaslight me ever again about anything. And so the story I'm going to share with you today is of the my encounter with Bloody Mary. And if any of you guys know like the history of Bloody Mary and everything, I'm just gonna read really quick the urban legend about it, and then I'll get into my encounter and what happened to me. This is just a little AI overview on Google. You guys can look it up. I will not be sharing how to play the game, not a game, but what they do at sleepovers and just what dumb kids do that are really naive and have no idea what's going on in the world and the reality. So the story of Bloody Mary is a modern urban legend about a spirit summoned by chanting her name in front of a mirror. Its origins are linked to several historical figures and folklore tales. So, with that being said, there was a Bloody Mary that was Mary of England, that she earned the nickname for her persecution against Protestants. And so that's basically anybody who went against the Catholic Church and protested against them, and we all know how evil that entity is. So, um, not going to get into that today, but regardless, she was a devout Catholic. She sought to restore Catholicism in England, leading to the persecution and execution of hundreds of Protestants, which earned her the name Bloody Mary. The connection to the legend, while the historical figure is often cited as the source of the name, historians note there is no direct link between her story and the mirror based ritual. So they say. Um, there's another part of it's so funny. They call it an urban legend, right? But just because something is legend doesn't mean that it's not true. And that's the same thing with something that's a myth. Just because something is labeled as a legend and a myth does not mean that it's not true. It's based in truth, but sometimes the stories are fabricated or changed or um, just memorialized in a fashion that suits the person who is writing the story, right? So, um, with that being said, man, the game it was a legend that they say evolved into a popular game played by young people at sleepovers. And what is supposed to happen in the legend, it says that it suggests that a ghost varying in form depending on the telling will appear in the mirror. And the consequences of summoning her vary from seeing her face to being physically harmed, having her eyes scratched out, or being dragged into the mirror. So, you know, that's some crazy consequence. The things that they don't mention, that it creates an attachment. It opens a door. It opens the door to the demonic. More encounters come after this. So let's go ahead and get into what happened to me. So I was 6 years old, living in base housing in New Mexico at the time. My sibling is 4 years older than me, and we would often play with the other children in the cul-de-sac where we lived on base housing. And, we would always get up to no good. The older ones would usually put us younger ones up to, things that we shouldn't be doing. You know how it is when sibling rivalry or whatever happens. It's just par for the course, I suppose. Doesn't make it right? No. Right. But it's just the things that we did to our younger siblings, right? In this case, I was the one that tended to always be like picked on or made to do all of these crazy things. And for some reason, I just did it. I mean, I guess every 6 year old's pretty naive and immature and just, they want to be liked and to hang out with their older sister. It makes them feel good, right? To be able to hang out with an older brother or sister or whatever the case may be. But for my instance, there was a, goodness, it was like some type of like storage shed or something that was like in front of the house where we were living on base housing. And my dad was a hunter. And this particular instance, he had just gone deer hunting and caught a buck, and its head was in the storage area where we would go in to play. And there was also like a really big mirror in there. And the older children decided that it would be fun if we played Bloody Mary. And so, obviously, me being 6 years old, I had no idea what that was. And, the thing that I want to preface this with is that a lot of you know that you have read my or watched my testimony will know that I didn't grow up in a house that talked about the Bible or anything like that. I did not have Jesus. I did not have any positive influence in my life during this time. And so it made me a lot more susceptible to things, albeit maybe, we should have known better, but at the same time, we were children. And, I'm telling this story from my perspective. The older children may have just thought that they were just picking and, thought something would be funny, not realizing it was really like, they were really bullying us little ones. And that was something that kind of continued throughout my life, as I was the one that was bullied a lot in school and stuff. So that's neither here nor there, though. So this particular instance, I'm sure some of you could probably see where this is going, but they had me go into the storage area and blindfolded me and then turned off the light. And I did the little thing that you have to do and chanted the name and everything. And while I was blindfolded, someone pulled the deer head and like literally put it like right behind me so I could see its reflection in the mirror. So when they turned the lights back on for me and I took my blindfold off, granted, I was in there by myself. The first thing I saw was like a bloody deer head in there. And then that ramped up my terror and everything. And I was absolutely petrified in that moment. And during the moment of being absolutely terrified like that, all I could do was stare in the mirror, and I saw another like humanoid type figure appear inside the mirror, which in turn caused me to kind of like break out of no pun intended, deer in headlights look. It's like I started screaming, at the top of my lungs, like I was actually like terrified. And naturally, they thought it was the deer that made me scream, not knowing what else had happened to me in there. And I ended up with scratches down my back also. Everybody laughed and thought it was funny, and I was completely traumatized from that experience for a very, very long time after that. And that wasn't my only experience playing the Bloody Mary game. And you would have thought that from that very first get go that I would have learned my lesson. But unfortunately, you know, again, it's like when we're children, we gaslight ourselves or we're like, oh no, that couldn't have what really happened. I was seeing things, there was nothing else there. Um, we trick ourselves into believing the things that we saw or see are not real or not true because we know what people say about us and make us feel and think when we can see these things, which, you know, the one thing that I tell people, especially parents that have children old enough to talk, is if your child ever comes to you and tells you that there is a monster under the bed or in the closet, you need to listen to them. That is the bottom line. You need to listen to them. And so, back to my story here. We had moved back here to Arizona, and I met a really good friend. She was like my best friend, lived right across the street from me. So we're talking a totally different neighborhood, a totally different state, totally different friend. Um, and I was over at her house playing. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And we also thought it was a good idea to play Bloody Mary yet again. And I don't know if it was her idea or if it was my idea. But we decided to play it. And she went first and came out and reported that nothing happened or whatever. And so here I am again going in. This is not a big deal. I've already done this before. You know how kids are. We do something one time and all of a sudden we're like a professional at it. That's just a kid's mentality, right? So anyway, I went in, did the whole thing, and had another encounter, saw her in the mirror, ended up with scratches down my back. My best friend at the time really thought that, somehow I managed to put these scratches on my back myself. I think that was just her way of trying to reason through everything that had happened, because she heard me being terrified and commotion, I guess, happening in the bathroom. And, saw the scratches. And I think she finally realized that there was no way that that could have happened to myself. But it was one of those things like we never talked about it again. We just like shared our experience that day and then we never spoke of it again. This being said, this just reminds me so much of some of these like trends and stuff that we see on TikTok of these people doing these really ridiculous, stupid things that happen to actually be real rituals, summoning demons and opening doors that they don't even know how to close. Um, and I think it's like really important that we talk about these things and share our real experiences that have happened so we can try to help these children that don't have any type of good representation or parental figure out there, to make sure that they don't continue to open these doors and get these attachments, and then they're stuck with it for the rest of their lives or until they find Jesus, right? Because he's the only one that can shut that door and break the curse. And it's not something that we can do on our own. I suffered for a very long time with night terrors, not just because of what happened with the whole Bloody Mary thing, but between that and my encounter with the Hat Man, those two events in my life are probably the most traumatic spiritual things that I have gone through that really stuck with me that I didn't forget about for a very long time, right? And um I just think it's important to let people know that they're not alone and they're not imagining things, and we don't have to gaslight ourselves. And if you're seeing something, it's probably really there. And it can be rebuked in the name of Jesus. We have that authority and power that he has given to us to trample on serpents and scorpions and all these demonic creatures, and open doors can be shut in the name of Jesus. He's the one who knocks, and that's the only door that we should be opening, is the one to him. So, with that being said, you guys, I just wanted to really share that encounter. I have a few more that I will be sharing in the future. If you guys are interested in hearing them, um, I just want these children and their parents, like, don't do what we did. Don't follow down that road. Keep every door shut that you can, except for the one that is behind where Jesus is. That is the only one that we should open and walk through. So I don't know. It's so much about all of this bothers me. TikTok is probably like one of the worst things that has ever happened to humanity. I honestly hate social media, but it's here for a reason, and I'm going to continue to use it to advance the kingdom and proclaim my authority over these things, and over the demonic, and proclaim Jesus. So I hope that you guys will join me and help me to help other people by sharing our stories and letting them know that they're not crazy. And I know that these things actually do happen and occur. Um, Maybe you guys can share some of your encounters, or if you've ever done this stupid ritual, what it was like for you if you had anything happen. Um, so with that being said, I pray that you all have a blessed day, and I love you all in Jesus' mighty name.